So right here for you now is the new cell phone video showing those police officers who were placed at harm's way as a result of Lieutenant Byrd's reckless decision to shoot Ashli Babbitt. So here's the video. Watch it through its entirety, and you'll see why it's important.
We back you down. Six agitations, one. You go ahead. Watch the fuzzy mad guy. Back up! You guys, back up! Go.
So there you have it. You see in that video why Lieutenant Byrd's decision to shoot Ashli Babbitt was so reckless and dangerous, because not only were there civilians there, but there were other law enforcement personnel who were, practically speaking, right in the line of fire. Now, my view is Lieutenant Byrd's shooting was treated quite differently than other police officer-involved shootings. And of course, I don't need to tell you that. You already know that. If it weren't a Trump supporter, if it weren't January 6th, if this weren't the Capitol Hill Police, which is the police agency right now run by Nancy Pelosi and her Democratic colleagues on the Hill, I'm convinced Lieutenant Byrd, in the least, would have faced a more serious criminal investigation, and also, again, in the least, an administrative sanction for recklessly shooting this unarmed individual. It was a bad shooting. And that video we have, which it took us forever and a day to get, further demonstrated. Also, we received, and it looked like it was a criminal investigation. One of the curious things, and I say this not knowing how it was resolved, because the Justice Department, which we're also suing for records about their decision related to the prosecution of Lieutenant Byrd, or non-prosecution in his case, hasn't given us the documents. But it's unclear from the documents we received whether there was a criminal prosecution recommended and rejected. So we don't know for sure whether someone wanted to prosecute him or not within the police department or within the Justice Department, or how that worked. But the pictures we have demonstrate that it looked to me that he was being seriously investigated, at least in part. Here, there's a picture of him. You can see, they got a straight-on headshot of Lieutenant Byrd. It's not quite a mugshot, but it's pretty darn close. And then they have, which I thought was even more interesting, pictures of his hands. So I defer to the forensic experts among you to tell us why, in your comments, why that's important. And then, of course, there are pictures of the gun. Many pictures of the gun were produced to us as well. And you'll see those pictures they're running through now. So, this is stuff exclusively obtained by Judicial Watch. And some of the other photos we have include photos of the crime scene generally. And they're going to run a few photos as I'm talking here. You can kind of see the doorway where Babbitt went through. Well, she didn't get through because they shot her. Remember, you had that crowd behind that door. And I'm sure it was scary for everyone involved. If you're on the wrong side of that door, you see a crowd and you don't know what's going to happen. But we pay these police officers to keep their heads about them. and not panic and not shoot. And included in these audio witness statements is the audio statement of Lieutenant Byrd, who, as best we can tell, refused to cooperate, which is his right. But here is the 2-minute or so audio interview of Lieutenant Byrd. The voices sound weird because, and they sound weird in all of the witness statements, audio at least, is because the government somehow wanted to disguise the voices of people, even though in the case of Lieutenant Byrd, he's identified. So here is the audio interview. Here's the audio of the interview of Lieutenant Byrd.
Today is January 6th, 2020. It is approximately 1938 hours. I am in Internal Affairs Division. We are located at 119 D Street, U.S. Capitol Police Headquarters. Present is the target of the criminal investigation for the officer involved shooting. Sir, would you please introduce yourself?
Lieutenant Michael Byrd, United States Capitol Police, House Chamber Section, Capitol Division, pin number.
Thank you very much for that, sir. And if you would please introduce, also present, if you would please introduce yourself.
Agent MPD IAD,
And also present.
Special Agent United States Capitol Police Criminal Investigations Section.
Thank you very much. Now, before we get into the interview itself, I want to advise you of what's called the Garrity warnings. What Garrity says is that you are not required to give a statement to us today, that if you choose to do so or not choose to do so will have no bearing on your employment, that any statement you give is voluntary, but also please be aware that any statement that you give will be shared with the United States Attorney's Office. Any statement you give will be shared with the United States Attorney's Office. Okay. Do you understand the Garrity warning?
I do.
Okay. Are you willing to give us a statement today?
I would prefer to have a lawyer present
Okay.
under those, under the information that you just provided.
That is perfectly understandable. Then I will not ask you to provide a statement today. I will ask you, though, that when you do secure counsel, you have my business card and my contact information on them. If you would have them reach out to me to arrange for you to provide a statement when appropriate.
Yes, sir.
Okay? All right, then. Well, then, with that said, we're going to end the recording at this time, unless there's anything else anyone would like to add. Okay. Then I'm going to end the recording at this time. It is approximately 1941 hours.
So you see, Lieutenant Byrd didn't want to talk. He wanted to have his lawyer, and as best we can tell, no one ever interviewed him, at least in the police department of the Metropolitan Police Department, about his decision to shoot Ashli Babbitt. Of course, he talked to the media about it, but he didn't talk to law enforcement. Isn't that interesting? So this is, it shows you how important Judicial Watch's work is, that we're able to get this information in the face of a Congress that's focused on trying to destroy its political enemies using the pretext of January 6th. And of course, this is not our only lawsuit. As I said, we sued the Justice Department for its information on the shooting death of Ashli Babbitt, the only person killed via homicide that day. And we've sued the Congress for the videos. They're telling the court in our case against them for the videos, 14,000 hours of videos from that day. Not 1 second of the January 6th videos that Congress has can be released to Judicial Watch under the Open Records Law. In fact, they're saying they're not even public records. And if they were, they're not important enough to release. The public interest doesn't outweigh their interest in confidentiality. Well, which is it? The worst day in American history that the public has an interest in figuring out how it happened? Or some just regular congressional day that doesn't require them to start releasing videos of what went on? You know where we stand on it, but Pelosi is the enemy, as I said before, of transparency on this.